This week, we're going to talk about that first pillar of your personal power, which happens to be the subject of love. And last week, if you didn't tune in or you haven't listened to what we talked about, that's okay. I did leave you with an exercise to run, and I'm going to give you the same questions now. So if you haven't listened to it, you can write these questions down and do this exercise in the next 7 days before we get together again next week. So the first question I gave you last week was, where are you willing to be present? And present is simply you being here in the moment, not with your attention elsewhere in the past, in the future, but being here. And then the second question is, where would you rather not be present? And just run those questions back and forth, list the places that you're willing to be present, and just whatever comes to view for you. There's no right or wrong answer. The right answers are the answers for you that works for you. So today, we're going to talk about love because in the first pillar of power is love. But in order to have love, you have to first be here. So I want to read you a definition from Alan Walter's dictionary. And out of all the definitions of love, it is by far my best and favorite definition. I've actually posted this on my Facebook page before. And oh my goodness, I got so many likes. I think a lot of people are in agreement with this definition. A lot of people have never looked at this definition of love. So it's quite different, but very, very positive. So love, the highest quality of spiritual recognition that observes and respects, admires, and validates those spiritual qualities, assets, and capabilities of another or others, and oneself as spiritual beings. Thus comes about an enhancement of the quality, assets, prosperity of the quality, assets, prosperity, and happiness of each being. And when I read that, I always see just relationships, whether they're business, in families, and among friends, and then relationships to things and people just getting better. If we all related based on that definition of love, how different would the world be today in present time? A lot different. So if you look at when you start to want to know something, know more about someone, learn something new, basically, first you have to contact it. Sometimes we don't like the thing we're trying to contact, or we find it so-so. And typically it's because we don't know much about it, or either it's reminding us of something else in the past that's really not what's happening in present time. But in order to learn something about someone or something, you contact it, you're present and you contact it. And then as you know more about it, that's when your understanding increases. Then you're able to, by observation, get more knowledge about it, which is all pieces of love, if you will. So it starts with you recognizing and observing yourself and really taking a look at, what can you observe about yourself, get the knowledge about yourself, understand yourself. And by doing that, as you communicate and start to learn more about other subjects, other people, places, then the amount of love and understanding increases. So, and guess what? You're able to relate in a more loving way. So what I'd like for you to do is choose an object that you're willing to connect to, and just pick it up and inspect it. I also want you to inspect your mood level when you first pick that object up. You know, it reminds me of someone that I was helping in the first grade one time. I was a mentor with a little girl in school, and there was a huge upset with her. She was really struggling reading, but there was a huge upset in the family because her parents had decided to divorce. And so every time I would go in, which was once a week, I believe, I would go in to work with her. Her mood level was grief. Sometimes she had tears rolling down her cheek as I coached her and talked to her about how she was doing. And then we would practice reading. And then her attention was so stuck in the past. You know, it was my job as a mentor to help her get more present, because as she got more present, then I noticed that she understood the words and knew a lot more words as she was reading. So I decided to run this simple little process on her one day. I told her to look around the room and find something that she could like, because love was way up there. And so she did, and I had her go over and pick that object up and tell me what she liked about it. So I ran that simple little process probably 3 different times, and I knew it was a risk, but the last set of questions that I ran on her, I decided to change that word like to love. And again, this was a pretty high mood for this little first grader to be in because of the upset. But we had had enough positiveness in our 1 hour that we were together. I thought she might be able to get there, if you will. So I told her, I said, look around and find something in this room that you could love. And she stood up and she looked and she looked and she looked. And then all of a sudden she spotted a picture that had been stapled to the wall with a whole bunch of other pictures. And I said, she was just smiling from ear to ear. And I said, tell me about it. What do you love about it? And she looked at me and she said, it's my picture. I drew it. And so she just got in a state of love. She loved what she had drawn. She loved that it was stapled on the wall. And that was really the end of our mentoring session, because her mood level was high. We had practiced reading, and I knew that her day, she was going to be set up to learn for the rest of her day, just because I had gotten her mood level from being absent in the classroom, being upset and really stuck with what was happening between mom and dad, to where she was positive. So love is being able to get knowledge, being able to know about yourself and others and understand, and also the objects, the things you're trying to know more about, the things you'd like to know more about. It sets you up to be able to win. Love is one of the most powerful attributes in presence, and also the first pillar of power. See you next week. Do the exercise and post in the chat and let me know what